When Nick went to withdraw money from the ATM, he discovered something absolutely bizarre. His bank account somehow had an extra $750,000 that he couldn't explain. He could hardly believe his eyes. In his panic, he accidentally hit an extra zero on the keypad, and suddenly cash started pouring out of the machine like confetti. Nick completely lost his cool as bills kept spewing out endlessly while bystanders stood frozen in shock. He frantically stuffed the money into his pockets and disappeared into the crowd. But when he got home, his landlord came running toward him in terror. The old man was completely out of breath as he told Nick that dozens of packages had been delivered that afternoon, each one suspiciously heavy. Nick generously paid the landlord a month's rent to get rid of him, but when he turned on the lights, he was horrified by what he saw. His apartment was completely packed with delivery boxes. He randomly opened one of the cases, but had never seen anything like what was inside. The room was filled with ammonium nitrate and various weapons. The packages contained not only rocket launchers but countless armor-piercing rounds as well. When he opened a document envelope, he found dozens of passports, all bearing his name but with different photos. Just as Nick was trying to make sense of this nightmare, his phone rang. The caller ID showed an unknown number. A nervous Nick answered, and the voice claimed to be a police officer who said they would storm the room in 30 seconds. If he didn't want to get arrested, he needed to leave immediately and head to the nearest train station for further instructions. Nick looked out the window frantically, but there wasn't a soul in sight below. The caller explained that his room was now full of evidence, and if he got caught, he'd be charged with terrorism. It was clear that Nick had been caught up in some kind of conspiracy, but just as he was demanding to know who was calling, a flashbang grenade came flying through the window, followed immediately by police breaking in. Nick tried to escape, but they had already set up an ambush outside his door. He didn't stand a chance and was quickly subdued by the officers. Nick was taken to a joint counter-terrorism interrogation room. He insisted he was innocent and had no idea how those items got into his apartment. He swore he was a law-abiding citizen. Surprisingly, the interrogators didn't actually consider Nick a suspect because they had already thoroughly investigated his background. After graduating, Nick had worked at a copy shop, earning a modest income each month, with absolutely no connection to any terrorist organizations. However, his twin brother was a completely different story. The brother had graduated from the Air Force Academy at just 21 years old and earned dual degrees in quantum electronics and parallel computing. He was basically a genius. The investigators suspected these weapons were somehow connected to Nick's brother, but Nick explained that they hadn't been in contact for 3 years. The last time he'd seen him was just yesterday at his funeral. The interrogator was extremely disappointed by Nick's lack of cooperation and threatened that staying silent would mean prison time. With that, the man stormed out, because they had received reliable intelligence that a terrorist organization would launch a retaliatory attack somewhere within 5 hours. Just then, they received a fax from the Attorney General's office authorizing Nick to make one phone call. It seemed like someone higher up had changed their opinion about him, but when he picked up the phone, he heard that same mysterious woman's voice again. She claimed to have prepared an escape plan for him and ordered him to lie flat on the floor and stay still. While Nick was still completely bewildered, he noticed that a construction crane outside the window suddenly went out of control and crashed into his floor. As Nick stood there in shock, the billboard on the building across the street lit up with red lights. With counter-terrorism agents frantically trying to break down the door outside, Nick had no choice but to leap from the building. Fortunately, there was a metal awning below to cushion his fall, though he still hit the ground hard. Just as Nick was congratulating himself on dodging that bullet, a subway train came barreling straight toward him. At the critical moment, Nick managed to jump up and barely escape the speeding train.